All right, we are here with the final WandaVision review, and
think
I don't know.
I
I don't
have
know.
something for this. I have something for this.
Okay.
This TV series was not going to go the way you thought it was going to go.
Definitely. I definitely can concur with that. Like I expected something very, very different from from the season finale. So okay, before we even get into it, I want to say let's try and get this whole episode in 5 minutes, because that's just how I'm ready for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So let's try and
You know what? Matter of fact, let's save that for the wrap up. Let's just jump into the episode.
Okay, so we pick up right where we left off in the previous episode, which is Agatha Harkness is holding the boys by their neck in the middle of the street. WandaVision comes out, fight. More fighting. Honestly, it's not a lot of specifics to get into, because really it's a lot of fighting. Mm-hmm. White Vision comes in, fights regular Vision. Yes.
White Vision.
Well, how would you describe it?
Let's call him empty vessel.
I was gonna say government Vision. Yeah. Government Vision fights.
Food stamp Vision
fights. WandaVision, and honestly, that goes back and forth. Agatha.
Yes, the fights go. Agatha and the Scarlet Witch, they go back and forth, hurling magical powers at one another.
Yeah,
until eventually, the Scarlet Witch is able to use the what did she call those
runes? They're called runes.
Use the runes against Agatha, and she basically drains Agatha Harkness of all her powers.
Right. She gives her the okie doke. She switches it on her.
She does the Superman 2.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And if you don't know the Superman 2 reference, watch Superman 2. It was a really good film. Go ahead.
Yeah, Superman 2 starring the late Christopher Reeve.
Yep.
And we did see more of Monica Rambeau's powers.
Oh, yes. I thought you were going to say we saw more of Monica Rambeau. I was going to say, a little bit more. But yes, we not finally, but we got to see a little bit more of what Monica Rambeau could do as, I guess, Photon. I guess that's more Photon than Photon / Spectrum.
But we aren't even sure what her powers are yet, or what she's going to be called. All we know is that she has powers.
Yes, that is confirmed.
And we give us a couple of end credit scenes.
Yes.
Matter of fact, before we even jump to that, so we saw Wanda make the decision to let everyone go at the cost of losing her family.
Right. And that happens twice. First, she actually opens the hex because Agatha raises the veil over a lot of the people that she had under the influence. And they start to all beg her to either one, release them, or two, kill them, because they're walking around with her pain and sadness and despair. And it's just crushing. And when Wanda realizes this, she opens the hex to let them out. But when she does that, WandaVision and Billy and Tommy both start to kind of pixelate and come to pieces. She closes the hex, and then more fight. And and then the same thing with Vision. WandaVision fights Government Vision, and then they come upon not parable, but the theory of the Theseus ship, which is a ship that was created a long time ago, I guess, by Theseus. And the dilemma is, throughout years of wear and tear, they've replaced pieces on the ship. So then the question now becomes, is it still Theseus's ship, or is it a whole new ship that just looks like the original? And that was the debate with Government Vision and WandaVision, because the Government Vision is his directive was to stop Vision. And WandaVision was like, I'm not Vision. It was like, well, explain. And it's kind of like, Government Vision is the actual body and pieces of Vision. And
WandaVision is the soul.
Exactly. And so who is Vision? Both of them and neither of them. And that really was the answer. What WandaVision actually does is he allows Government Vision to access the memories within the body that government vision is in that has been kind of closed off by the government. And so
Yeah,
now
as they're having the conversation, government vision is beginning to pull the veil back on exactly what the government has done to him and what their true intentions are. So as they are having this meeting of the minds, he starts to realize that he was made as a purpose of destruction, and
right, to be a weapon.
We start to see that maybe that's not what his intentions are.
Right. And so that's kind of how that particular battle ends. Like, and Mike says, you know, earlier with the Agatha Harkness, Wanda, Scarlet Witch battle, we actually see Scarlet Witch, who learns about runes in the previous episode. Now she tricks Agatha into believing that Agatha has gotten the better of her, but when you look up, the runes are in the sky, and so everything everything Agatha was doing was powerless to the Scarlet Witch.
What I did like, there was a line when Agatha Harkness, when the Scarlet Witch took Agatha Harkness back to the Salem scene, and she tells her the reason why you're dangerous is not because of your power, but because of your knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
She knows nothing, you know, of what to do with it.
She doesn't know what she's capable of.
And well, now what's interesting is in the last episode, Agatha Harkness makes a comment. She's like, you don't realize the power you have. You have all of this ability and you're making breakfast for dinner. And I'm like, I don't understand. I make breakfast for dinner all the time. I'm like, what is the problem with that?
I guess she means she could pull a government, not a government, but a Dr. Manhattan and do 8 million things at one time.
Very true.
She's selling herself short by actually cooking, actually being at the stove and making eggs and pancakes for dinner, where she could be doing a million other things at that one time, which she actually alluded to in the end credit scene. Because we see in one of the end credit scenes that Scarlet Witch her body is enjoying the sunset and drinking coffee and tea, but meanwhile her soul is reading that book.
Right. So Mike kind of jumped to the end credit scene, but so okay, we wrapped up what happened with Vision. We wrapped up what happened with Agatha Harkness, and we kind of quickly went over Monica Rambeau. But basically, Director Hayward realizing that, like, you know, that the Wanda and Vision's children stopped his strike team. He comes out of the car. He starts shooting at the kids.
He went real dark,
psycho, real quick. Yeah.
He went from trying to save the country to a straight up child murderer in a matter of 30 seconds.
Yep, we call that pulling a Daenerys. And as he shoots at the children, Monica Rambeau jumps in front of the bullets. Her eyes turn yellow, and the bullets go through her body. Like her body looks like it's now like energy or light or something like that. And then the bullets just drop out of her back. We got a chance to see Monica's powers. We get to see Darcy. Darcy's the one that actually stops Hayward when he tries to escape. And
was he trying to escape, or was he trying to run them over?
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't know. He was driving the car in a direction, not sure which direction that was. And so honestly, that's pretty much how it ends. Wanda and Vision and her children go back to her house, realizing now that she has to, end the hex. Yeah, let the people go. And we see the hex start to shrink and shrink and shrink. And it finally gets to her house. They tuck the children into bed. And then when she goes downstairs, Vision asks her, "What is he?" And she explains that he's the piece of the Mind Stone that is within her. And then we see that the hex finally disappears. The house, Vision slowly disappears.
The hex collapses, and it's just vanishing. And she puts her kids to sleep one last time, and her kids dissolve and Vision dissolves. We see Wanda leave, and as she leaves, she's getting straight venom stares from all the people in the town. And Monica Rambeau is just basically like, "I understand why you did it." And then the authorities are coming, and then Wanda's like, "Listen, I'm leaving, but I'm going to learn how to use my powers." And we see her leave.
I mean, that's the gist of it. I mean, once again,
Oh, and there's an end credit scene featuring Monica.
Right. I was going to get to that too.
Okay.
Last thing about the episode, and then we're pretty much done with the episode in its entirety, which is Pietro has Monica, and this is earlier in the episode, is holding Monica hostage. And, he has his speed ability as she's trying to get away. But then she realizes that the house actually belongs to him. And as he's trying to fight her, he's playing around with her, but she is able to kind of subdue him and realizes that Agatha is controlling him with this necklace. So she rips off the necklace and now he's back to his regular self. So we don't know if he had the power from Agatha Harkness. We don't know if he always had the power. I mean, assuming it's probably from Agatha Harkness, but yes, we don't know.
He needed to have a connection to Wanda. And the only way the connection would work, as she said in the episode, she couldn't do necromancy because that's not a good thing.
Yeah, but not without the body. Yeah,
but she drew in the speed, so it could be a sort of familiarity with the her version of her sibling.
Right. And then then we get to the other end credit scene. Mike already explained the last end credit scene, but the initial end credit scene is officer comes to get Monica Rambeau, says,
FBI agent.
Yeah, we need to take you into the basically the theater for the debrief. She gets in there, the FBI agent changes into a Skrull and says, our supervisor would like to talk to you, who we all know who the Skrull supervisor is.
No,
Nick.
Not a supervisor, a friend of your mother.
Yes.
Speak to you.
Yes, a friend of your mother.
And he, a friend of your mother, he would like to speak to you. See, I missed that he part the first time that I saw it. So I do it. I was like, oh, Tom, I was right. Captain Marvel. No, but no, we both expected a lot bigger things to transpire at the conclusion of this episode.
Yes.
But didn't turn out that way. Yeah. And I'm starting to think that's why you see a lot of hate towards a lot of different shows. People get upset when they know, especially when it comes to comics or books that people, comics or book characters that people are very familiar with. Mm-hmm. I think people will give a review, a bad one, when their conclusion wasn't what the shows or the film's conclusion
that's fair
came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's wrong to do. Like, if just because you didn't particularly get the ending that you expected from the comic books, I mean, I don't think that's fair. And because there's so many comic book movies, and not just like DC and Marvel, but like The Boys, comic book movies that do very different things that are that are just as exciting or even better than the comics. And so it shouldn't be the same. Like, if they don't go the route of the comics, it sucks.
It's a bad review. Yeah. It's a TV show. It's a smaller story.
It's an adaptation. But now what Mike is, specifically talking about is and I mentioned it in one of our episodes, but, in the House of M story, Wanda, I think she starts off she ends the House of M, or maybe begins, I can't remember, with no more mutants, those 3 words. And so there was an expectation of, because this is Wanda's story, it was somehow going to have her bring mutants into the fold. It didn't. And Mike pointed out something that made a lot of sense. That would be a huge event. That would be not a TV size event. That would be a movie size event. And I agree, he's right. So even though I would have loved to have seen it on a TV scale, that is a movie. That's something you would do in the movies.
Exactly, because you want the most eyes that you could possibly get at that one time. But I will say this. I had high expectations for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. After seeing this, I'm going to lower them slightly.
Yeah. Now so now that being said, my critique of the entire season is I'm not going to give it 3 water coolers, but I can't give it 4. I'd give it a 3.5. And I say that because of this. It was you thought the payoff was going to be huge.
And even what you told me, that Paul Bethany said that
he said
they were going to have a huge, not a huge, but he said a big cameo.
Right. He was like, he had a great time working with this actor that he had a huge cameo with in the final episode. Come to find out, the joke was he was talking about himself. I mean, but the
Yeah, that's a real douchebag move, man.
yeah. And so, you know, I sat like I did not like the setup, the initial setup. I thought it was very interesting, but I did feel like the payoff was going to be a lot bigger than what it was. Now that we're at the end and we see that the payoff was, I mean, you know, it was kind of like a regular TV series. And, you know, but that's the problem. Marvel has raised my expectations. And so I thought we were going to see like Doctor Strange pop up because, like, you know, now Disney owns everything. I mean, listen, we saw Luke Skywalker come back in the season finale of The Mandalorian. So anything was possible with Disney. And so to see that, you know, I mean, once again, it wasn't a bad season finale.
I think there's a difference there.
Talk to me.
The Mandalorian is saving Star Wars. Marvel does not need saving.
True, very true. I mean, but once again, it's just kind of like I expected something more, and I didn't get that. So you know, it kind of it's almost unfair against the show, but it's kind of like you kind of had my expectations really high, and then they kind of just was like, oh, okay.
My expectations have nothing to do with nothing to do with the reason why you had high expectations. The reason why my expectations were so high was the whole sitcom angle of it.
Yeah.
I thought as if you're going to make people sit through sitcomish Marvel TV shows, I want Avengers Endgame.
Right. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
The last 5 minutes of Avengers Endgame in episode 9.
But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, I rode with it and I had no problem with it because I knew we were going to get, you know, Steve Rogers coming back. Yeah. I knew it because we were getting this. And so to get nothing, it's kind of like, oh, yeah. I mean, I guess, because realistically, what happened? All that happened was she was in grief and it ends with her still not having anyone, but now she knows she's the Scarlet Witch. That's it.
And also she was able to give herself closure that she was not able to have. But people forget Vision dies and she vanishes. So she was never able to properly grieve over a loved lost one.
True. But that being said, you know, I kind of expected it to be more than just about, and it's not bad that it is, but it's really just about her grief and her kind of coming to grips with who she really is. And so it's more like an analysis of a character. As opposed to like it's supposed to be like a spectacle. It wasn't really supposed to be that. And I made the mistake of thinking that it was supposed to be that. So I'm a little bummed.
Yeah. The Mandalorian turned into, like you said, an event TV show.
Yeah.
Whereas Wanda, it was a good TV show.
Yes, it was a good TV show. It was good. I'm kind of interested. My expectations are not high at all for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm just gonna look at it like Law and Order SVU.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. So Tom gave it 3.5 water coolers, and I concur.
All right, there you go. It has been, an interesting.
Before we go, if you're wondering what this M is for, Coming to America 2 comes out tonight. I'm gonna watch it with my family, and we all agreed to get Coming to America t-shirts, and this is the McDowell symbol, not McDonald's. McDowell.
There it is. So if you check out Coming to America 2, it's going to probably be in our next podcast, which will be airing this upcoming Monday. And, so we'd love to hear your thoughts and how you felt about WandaVision and about Coming to America 2. So check us out.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Peace.
You've been listening to Two Brothers at a Water Cooler with Mike and Tom, produced by Jamie Fernandez and Peter Bune. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts, and you might find your review in a future episode.